Well, hello and welcome to Bingewatch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV Times, TV and Satellite Week and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases for the week starting Friday, the 15th of December. Yes, so close to Christmas, Hannah, including the Paramount Plus drama The Serial Killer's Wife, and the new Disney fantasy series Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
And we'll also be checking out a festive edition of Bad Education starring Leighton Williams, you know, the one from Strictly, and visiting Santa, courtesy of Rob and Romesh versus Lapland on Now TV, which look very good. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
The Road Trip, a Paramount Plus romantic comedy, will star Emma Appleton as Addie, who is travelling to a wedding in Spain when her ex, Dylan, played by Laurie Davidson, ends up joining her and the past resurfaces. Ooh. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, ITVX's four-part comedy drama Douglas is Cancelled by Stephen Moffat will star Hugh Bonneville as a news presenter whose career goes into meltdown following an inflammatory comment he makes at a wedding.
We've gone 50% Christmassy this week, haven't we, Hannah, ahead of next week's bumper double issue of the podcast. However, we're going to start on Paramount Plus with a new four-part drama series which arrives on Friday the 15th of December. It's called The Serial Killer's Wife. And here's a clip.
Has Dr. Fairchild, your husband, ever been violent in any way?
To me, no.
To anyone?
We got you, didn't we?
I didn't know my wife was so good at keeping secrets from me.
Now come in. Tom Fairchild, I am arresting you on suspicion of the murder of Katie Asquith.
This is very good. I enjoyed episode 1. It's about a family called the Fairchilds. And Beth is a cafe owner. She's played by Annabel Scholey. And this is based on a novel, by the way, by Alice Hunter, which, surprise, surprise, I haven't read. And when we start, she's throwing a surprise 40th birthday party for her husband, Tom, played by, Jack Farthing from Poldark. He was good in that, wasn't he? So he's a doctor. And, the party seems to be going well until the police arrive and arrest Tom. Yeah, a body's been found on the beach. It's someone who used to work for Tom, and he's pleading innocence. Yes, you can imagine what's going to happen. She's going to start kind of delving into his life a bit more deeply, and secrets perhaps that he had kept from her. Is he guilty or is he innocent? So it's a good old potboiler, but it's actually well done, I think. Good cast, well acted, and yeah, it's just a really great thriller. I am interested to see how it pans out because he's well cast, because he's very charming, but you could believe that he could be guilty of all sorts of unspeakable things. And it's got Morgana Robinson is in it in a rare straight role for her. She's playing one of Beth's friends, one of the yummy mummies. You've also got Luke Treadaway, one of our favourites. He plays Tom's best friend. And you've got Julie Graham crops up, the Shetland star. She plays Beth's mum, who kind of rolls up in her camper van wanting to do the washing and borrow some money. So yeah, plenty going on. I loved episode 1. This is, if you're already fed up with Christmassy things, this is a good antidote. What did you think, Hannah?
I did think this was really rather good. It's fun, isn't it? I love the idea that this family that everybody kind of looks up to. They've got an amazing life, and I often have this conversation with my husband, which is kind of like, what goes on behind closed doors, do you think? Do you think it's really that amazing? And I think social media always makes you think everything's amazing, doesn't it? It shows you the edited highlights. And so they've got this kind of idea of this family, of this kind of idyllic world they live in. And of course, like you say, he's arrested, and is he guilty or is he not? And you kind of begin to realise how much does everyone really know about him? How much does the wife really know about him? So I think it's I thought the episode 1 was really, really good. Really enjoyed it.
Next up is the first of our Christmassy Offerings, which it actually arrived on Wednesday, the 13th of December. It was shown on BBC Three, but it's available now on BBC iPlayer. Bad Education, A Christmas Carol. And here's a clip.
I'm leaving Abbey Grove because I am gooped to announce I will be starring in a seasonal extravaganza, a pantomime, a mere stone's throw away from London St Martin's Lane. Well, it's in Swindon. Swindon? The big leagues.
So yeah, it's back. It's a festive special, as you say, and it's kind of it's just a fun spoof. There is a cameo from Jack Whitehall. You'll be pleased to hear. It's just a small cameo, but I think that from reading all the interviews with the cast, this really is his baby. So kind of he wanted to come back and, you know, have some sort of presence. The person sort of standout is, of course, Leighton Williams, who is in Strictly at the moment, and some level of controversy around him being in Strictly because, of course, he's a pretty good dancer. In fact, last weekend there are a couple of comments I thought from the judges about the fact that this show is all about people that, you know, haven't done this before and that sort of thing. And of course he has, and actually he's probably better than the professional half the time. But anyway, I digress, because Leighton Williams plays the drama teacher, and this centres really around him and his role, because he's ready to walk out. He's landed a massive role in a pantomime. He thinks, you know, all his Christmases have come at once, and he wants to walk out of his job. But of course he doesn't, and he goes for a little sleep, and a ghost shows itself. I mean, you can see where this is going, and he needs to see the error of his ways, and they do this musical extravaganza, and it's kind of it sort of channels the Charles Dickens, and it's a musical episode. It's got lovely songs, brilliant routines. It's really uplifting. It's really, really fun. It's got all the humour that you'd expect from this. And I sort of worry when you do these kind of one-off things. I think, oh, you know, is it going to be as good? Because of course, Bad Education we all love. But I thought it was really, really fun, really festive, really upbeat, and made me smile. Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was good. We'd done it, obviously, as you say, because Leighton is in Strictly, and it's a bit meta in a way, because I suspect he, like the teacher, he may well be leaving this job to go off and do West End stuff. I mean, that Charleston, my goodness, never seen anything like it. It was fabulous. But yeah, it is good fun, as you say. I mean, Bad Education, it's not what it was when Jack Whitehall and Matthew Horn were in it, but they're both, as you said, they're both coming back in for a ghostly cameo. So Jack Whitehall is kind of playing the equivalent of Marley's ghost from A Christmas Carol. Matthew Horn, who was the head teacher, he's back as the ghost of Christmas Past. You've got Vicky Pepperdine, lovely Vicky Pepperdine, as the ghost of Christmas Present. So yes, exactly. It's they've come to teach him a message about Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, songs, dances, good fun, a festive treat, recommended. Next up, arriving on Disney Plus from Wednesday the 20th of December, so you have to hang on for just a few days for this one. It's a new fantasy drama series called Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and here's a clip.
I didn't want to be a half-blood. Being a half-blood is dangerous. It's scary. Most of the time, it gets you killed. If you think you might be one of us, my advice is turn away while you still can.
So you're probably more familiar with this franchise than I am, based on Rick Riordan's best-selling novels, and there have been a number of films, haven't there? I haven't watched any of them. This is an 8-part adaptation, and it is about Percy, who is 12. He's played by Walker Scobell, and he is going to discover that his estranged father is actually a Greek god. Even worse, all the monsters from Greek mythology are coming after him. This particular story has been made into a film already, but it's really good. So his mum is played by Virginia Cole, his mum's Sally. So when strange things start happening to him at school where he's being bullied, his mum takes him off to this. It's a bit of an origin story, obviously. So she takes him off to this camp called Camp Half-Blood, where demigods get trained up. So it's got that classic kind of superhero training school element. His best mate from school, he's called Grover. He's played by Arian Sinhadri. It turns out that he's a satyr, so he's got like kind of goat's legs and horns. and as they're driving to the camp, they're being chased by a minotaur. So it's good stuff. I love the Greek mythology element. In fact, there's a writer who used to work on TV Times called Mary Evans, who's written a series of books that, again, are about kids getting involved with gods from mythology. Give her a little plug there. It's great. So I guess there are kind of comparisons with Harry Potter with the old mugbloods and that sort of thing, but it's very different. It's very much about these mythological figures that we would have learned about at school. They're great stories, aren't they? So the young lead, I think, is terrific. I think it's really well done, and I hadn't seen any Percy Jackson stuff before, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and it's got genuine jeopardy in it as well. You're probably a bit more familiar with this. What did you think, Hannah?
I really liked it, and I actually, in a part of me, thought I might not, but you know what? It kind of, like you say, you learn about this at school, don't you? Kind of the Greek mythology and what have you. This sort of brings it back to life. Brings it to life. It's I think it's really well done, actually. And when I first sort of looked at this, I thought, I don't know if this is really me. This is a bit hard going and what have you. You know what I'm like with this sort of genre. But I thought it was done really, really well, and it's really quite different. And I haven't seen. I think you mentioned that it's they've done something before, an adaptation of this before, and I haven't seen that, which probably helped. It's probably a good thing. And I don't know how true to the novels this actually is, because again, I haven't read them, but I thought it was really good, and I also think it's good for as I say, bringing things to life, and sometimes quite hard-going books, when you bring them to life, are really good. So I don't know what the rating on this is, but probably not very high. Probably quite good for children as well at school.
We're going to finish on a Christmassy note with one of your favourites, Hannah. It's on Sky Max and Now TV from Sunday the 17th of December. Rob and Romesh versus Lapland. Here's a clip.
So you posted up on Instagram, what should we do this year? Yeah. And somebody said, I'd like to see them train as elves in Lapland. So congratulations, whoever that is.
And this is it.
This is it.
The home of elves, the home of Santa.
Yeah.
Because this is proper Lapland, and they have a whole Santa park where you can meet Santa, and there's loads of elves that work here.
Yeah.
And this is where they'll come to get trained.
Yeah.
So want to go to Lapland, I really do. I mean, it's just the dream, isn't it? And these guys just living their best lives. So we're all familiar with this franchise, Rob and Romesh versus whatever it is. They've been on some pretty tough challenges in the past, and we've enjoyed them all. And they're very funny and they work very well together. So this is slightly different. It's as you say, the festive, the Christmassy element to this. And they head to the capital of Lapland, and they have to complete a series of tasks to see if they're worthy of joining Father Christmas's band of helpers. So essentially, they're training to be elves. It's really funny because I think because it's so extreme. I mean, we've seen extremes before, but you really get to see the real people, don't you? And Romesh, I don't know, he's usually the grumpy one, isn't he? He's particularly grumpy, but he really takes to this. He really enjoys it. Whereas Rob is really cold, and I'm always a bit concerned about people when they say they don't like animals. It worries me about what they're like, and he says he doesn't like animals, and he doesn't like the cold, and he hurts himself when he's running away from a herd of reindeer, and he's just generally very, very grumpy about the whole thing. And as I say, I'm a bit dubious about people who say they don't like animals. It concerns me a lot, but you really get to see his worst side. But it's so fun. It's all the comedy you'd expect, all the laughs you'd want at Christmas. And of course, wouldn't we all love to train to be an elf? I know I would.
Yeah, you could put these two in pretty much any situation, and they're just good value, aren't they? I mean, Romesh is with his very kind of cynical, dry humour, and then Rob just laughing uproariously. Yeah, so they do the sort of things you might expect. They go on a sleigh ride. They feed the reindeer. They work in Santa's post office. It's all good fun. I particularly enjoyed when Rob Beckett had to feed the reindeer, feed them lichen, and he was just terrified of them, and they were all gathering around him, and he was freaking out. So that's quite entertaining. And Romesh deliberately stops his snowmobile, so the reindeer are all attracted. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're a fan of this series, you know what you're going to get, and it's a good bit of Christmassy fun. Well, Hannah, we've got to that time where we find out what the heck you've been binging on this week.
Well, a few things, Ian, in my spare time when I'm not rapping. Watch the final of I'm a Celebrity, of course. Strictly, as you say, really, it's so close now. Everyone's so good, aren't they? Absolutely loving that. And I watched The Witches of Eastwick with Sharon. I've not seen that before, and I loved it.
Yes, I believe that's available on BBC iPlayer. I, for some reason, I don't know why, decided to watch 2 classic Monty Python films, which are both on Netflix, really good fun. And I also watched something that we were hoping to review, but we didn't get a screener, Leave the World Behind on Netflix, which is a new feature film starring Julia Roberts. It's all about a kind of cyber attack. That's worth checking out. Very interesting. Now, we've got to that time, Hannah, where we look ahead to next week's bumper Christmas and New Year double Bingewatch podcast. So, what are the many treats that we're going to be talking about, Hannah?
Well, Michelle Keegan will play a widow who begins to question whether her murdered husband is still alive in Fool Me Once, which is on Netflix.
And slightly more Christmassy, old friends James Nesbitt and Timothy Spall suit up for a seasonal tale of 2 different Santas in The Heist Before Christmas on Sky Max and Now TV. And of course, we will be rounding up the best of the rest and telling you what to watch over the festive break. So we look forward to that and much, much more. But in the meantime, keep watching!